Trae Young had been a growing issue for the Atlanta Hawks pretty much over the last few seasons. And now it's finally gotten to a point where a departure has finally occurred between Trae Young and the Hawks. The two parties have separated, and the Trae Young era is officially over in Atlanta. The Hawks this season came into the year with some expectations to be a potential surprise team in the Eastern Conference due to some nice offseason acquisitions. But here's the thing. They've been a below average basketball team as a whole this year. But the ultimate kicker, the one that really caught people's attention, is the fact that Trae Young's been out basically a majority of the year. He's been out for 29 games to be exact. The Hawks are actually a slightly above 500 team when he doesn't play. They're 16 and 13. But when he did play, they were 2 and 8 through 10 games. And when you watched those games, when you saw Trae Young out there, it was just bad basketball, especially as of recent. I mean, the offense was inefficient. The defense that he provides is always, basically non-existent. It's always been that way his whole career. And it's just been rough to watch, especially with Jalen Johnson basically becoming the face of the franchise with his continuous development over the last few years. And now Trae Young's in Washington, and it was done for low value. I mean, it was done for basically nothing. The Wizards got him for a salary dump type of deal. And to be honest, I actually like the trade, at least right now. I like the trade for both teams. Obviously, if you're Atlanta, you wish you could have got a little bit more, and you wish Trae Young's value didn't basically get tanked. But you did open up some room for some possibilities, some new things, some new opportunities to happen that we'll talk about in this video. But I want to start with the Wizards because the Wizards basically got him for nothing, and I really like the swing that they took with this trade, considering that they needed a lead guard. And there's still upside in a Trae Young deal. There's still upside in there. I mean, this is a guy that's been basically 25 points, 10 plus assists for the last few years. I mean, obviously this season it hasn't been that way, but he's made all-star teams. He's been an all-NBA caliber guard before. He's been to a conference finals. Yes, that was, years ago, but there's still something in there, I feel like, where he can elevate an offense as a playmaker, and he's giving a team a 20-point per game score. I mean, the Wizards could use anything right now. Yes, they got some interesting young pieces, which we also are going to talk about, but Trae Young can help this team. Yeah, he has some cons. Yes, he can be inefficient, but he's also a high-volume three-point shooting threat, which is good. And I think it should just be cool from a basketball standpoint to see him play with those young players. Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Trae Johnson. Those guys are going to get the chance to play with a high IQ guard. He's been in big games. And if you're the fans, I mean, this can be a fun watch for them. It's basically been rough for the Wizards since you can say the 2021 season where Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal were on the same team. The team's basically been horrific. And now you add Trae Young onto this team, and you know what? The Wizards have been playing decent ball as of late as well. So you add him onto the roster, and who knows what can happen. But here's the thing. We've also gotten reports that he might not play, or if he does play, it'll barely be, any games at all this season for the Wizards. And I think it's mainly just because they want to keep their pick, because obviously if they win a little too much games and they end up with the 9th, 10th pick by any chance, that pick goes to the New York Knicks. And instead they'd rather, keep their pick, hope for the best, and, maybe something crazy happens. Maybe they get a top 3 pick and they draft a AJ DeBonsa, a Cam Boozer, anything along those lines. And we're looking at the Wizards now as like a team with some really nice, interesting pieces. There's that possibility. But when you look at this team, the current side of things, what they have right now, they have some young guys. And if you add Trae Young onto the mix, it can be a fun watch. Like I mentioned earlier, you give this team some spark. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, might not play right away, but I'm interested because this is a guy that, like I said, he has upside still. Maybe he just needed a new scenario, a new space to be in, a new space where he can be free. The criticism isn't as crazy. In Atlanta, they were starting to get a little tired of him. maybe in a new spot he can figure some things out and get back to being Trae Young from previous years. The downside is obviously there's things that we mentioned, basketball wise that he does and that he can't do, but the contract is also pretty big and an extension is due. And considering the level of a star that he is, it's kind of risky to, what the number might be for his extension because I don't see him as like a superstar. I mean, I think at best he's like an all-star caliber guard, but I don't see him in that, upper tier with the Jalen Brunsons, the SGAs, the Lucas, the Cade Cunninghams, those guys. So you have to be careful you don't tie yourself into another bad contract like they did with Bradley Beal not too long ago. As for the Hawks side of things, they now have opportunity. They have opportunity to trade for a bigger salary, as we've mentioned, or as we've heard. The Anthony Davis reports, kind of intriguing. And it makes sense because, Dallas looks like they're going to move off him. Atlanta now has the opportunity to do so. Maybe you get AD in here, and it's AD, it's Jalen Johnson, it's the pieces that they added, it's Dyson Daniels, and who knows what can happen, right? But trade pieces wise, I mean, obviously the Hawks didn't get what they would have thought they would have gotten for Trae Young, years ago. But they got CJ McCollum, an expiring contract. He'll come off the books after this season. And you got a decent role player that's still pretty young in Corey Kispert that can space the floor, shoot the three ball at a high level. So I guess it's okay. You know, obviously value was tanked, so I guess you did the best what you could. And also, it seemed like he wanted to go to the Wizards. So I don't think you really had the choice but to trade him there. The Hawks also get to see an extended look of life without him, or without him being in the shadows, you could say. Because they've played a lot of games without him this season. Obviously, they've been pretty decent. But now he's not there, waiting in the wings. He's not returning soon, or you have to think about, when's Trae coming back? How's the team going to fit? You got your team now. This is your team. This is Jalen Johnson's team as of right now. And that should be something to watch for as well. Another thing that I think we could also look at is I want to see how it pans out for the Hawks in the long term because you got rid of Trae Young now. You still got that Pelicans pick. There's a real world where, hey, look, maybe they don't trade for Anthony Davis. Maybe they play the season out. They're a playing team or whatever. And then they hit on lottery luck. And they're able to take Darren Peterson. And Darren Peterson, I think, is a better guard prospect than Trae Young was coming into the league. So you look at that and you got Darren Peterson, Jalen Johnson. You got a young core there. You got some nice pieces. And we're really talking about a young core in Atlanta. You're basically hitting the reset button. And not to mention, you still have pieces to potentially swing for a star caliber deal as well. So the Hawks are in a really interesting spot overall. And I think the trade needed to be done. I think it was time. The Trae Young era in Atlanta was what it was. They had some success. It was mainly downs, but there were some ups and there were some high ups. But the era's over. Trae Young in Washington. Crazy to see. Who would have thought? And that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been the Checkup, and I'll see y'all next video. Peace.